Welcome everybody to Strike Team Gaming Presents Level 4 XP, a podcast brought to you by Anchor and the Strike Team Gaming community. Welcome to another pre-scheduled episode, and today, this one's for all you nerds. Today we're going to be talking about D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, and everything that revolves around it. Yeah. So without further ado, let me introduce who I'm here with.
Irishguy, aka Mike.
This is Doc. And Zmainia.
Welcome everybody, I'm Game Boy. Today we're going to be talking about Dungeons and Dragons, the role-playing tabletop
game.
Yeah, that you have essentially, everybody knows by name, but few have actually executed a game on. Today this is going to be Doc's episode, so we're going to go ahead and let him pretty much take the reins of it. So yeah, Doc, all yours.
I totally forgot to bring up my episodes as we're sitting here doing this.
Oh man.
I'm okay. It's all right. Damn it.
What are you trying to do?
Trying to bring Discord over.
So I guess with the inclusion of Discord and websites like Roll20, etc., is it really truly a tabletop game, or has it transcended the genre? You decide, as the exposition gives us plenty of time to pull up the information in which we need to do this.
Right there.
Yeah, I totally spaced. I was like, wait, I need an article, and then we're already introducing ourselves. I was like, crap, I need the article.
Oh, I forgot to hit the record on this. Whoops. Oh, we learn.
I mean, it's already being uploaded. So, oh my gosh.
Should I download a dice roller app on my phone?
No.
While we wait.
My dice.
Fine.
Okay, just checking.
I may have you do a random number.
I mean, we also do have
A D20.
a D20 right here.
So, first question, have you guys...
Actual
First question, have you guys heard of D&D?
Yes.
D and what?
You know what? You keep it up.
All right, so we're gonna go back to the three guy thing. All right, it's been great.
Oh, that was me. So distracted. This is my first episode alone, so it's actually I don't remember if this is the first. I think I might have.
No,
done
you
one
did
more.
the
You've
planned
done-
obsolescence.
Yeah, you've done like two.
Which you can check out on any streaming service we got. You're listening to us on. It's one of our early episodes. I don't remember which number.
I want to probably say about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Maybe 4.
Listen to all.
Four is remakes.
4 is remix. Then I think it was probably 5. So D&D is a game that pretty much every game that we have nowadays is based off of anything that you consider role playing can stem from D&D. From the majority of our genres of fantasy games and all this stuff, it was a game developed by original designer by Gary Gygax and Dave. Oh my gosh, Emerson. So this game was a game that they did that they actually published in their own house. So every copy of this game that they had was in Gary's. I think his son said in their front room. So the first initial run was 1,000 games. They had a 1,000 box set of some of the other games, of everything to pretty much play this game. I'm trying not to read too much off of this, but we'll go. So Dungeons and Dragons is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game, originally designed by Gary Gygax and Dave Emerson. It was first published in 1974 by Tactical Studies Rules Incorporated. It has been published by Wizards of the Coast since then, associated with Hasbro, since 1997. The game was diversed with miniature war games with a variant derived
miniature war games.
Let me make this a little bit bigger. This font on TV is not so well. Derived. Oh. And a variant in 1971 game called Chainmail, serving as the initial game system. D&D's publication is commonly recognized as the beginning of the modern role-playing games and the role-playing games industry. So pretty much Skyrim, anything, Fable, anything that has that story aspect. This is pretty much where everything now what we considered role-playing comes from. This the reason why I kind of wanted to do an episode on this is because this does touch base with a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
And it's not even like your standard, people of like what you would consider normies or, there are actually famous actors that come from this game. And this is the game that actually drove them to be who they are. And very famous for that is actually Vin Diesel.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
His movie, The Witcher. Have you guys seen that?
Wait, The Witcher?
Or not The Witcher. The Last Witch Hunter, I believe it is. That character in there is actually based off of his D&D character. And so when he got the rights to, or when he started to do his, what's it called? His movie industry, because a lot of this was he wrote and did that movie, or I think directed it. I can't remember everything off of it. My mind has so much knowledge; it's hard sometimes. That character is loosely based off of it, and then Joe, his last name,
Manganiello?
yeah. Manganiello, best known for Magic Mike, Deadshot in the Zack Snyder cut, bunch of different movies.
Mm-hmm.
He actually just recently designed and works with Wizards on a new module. Actually helped write it. He's pushed a lot of the stuff to the forefront. He actually runs a game in his basement that is designed like a dungeon.
Yeah, I've seen videos of that, and it is intense. Like, I would love to even just see it in person. It's insane.
Yeah, it... oh, gosh. Oh, wrong one.
That's on there, yeah.
Handsome guy.
Yeah, when I realized he was Deathstroke, oh man, I was so excited. So this is for the viewers to kind of see.
Yeah, it's like a legit dungeon.
Yeah. So his room, this was a house that he bought, him and his wife. It had a wine cellar in it.
Mm.
And he pretty much converted it to this.
Was that the Big Show?
Yep.
Yes.
Big Show is also huge into D&D.
Yes. And that's the thing is, like, this game has touched so many lives that you don't even expect, that it's something that brings true to my heart. So there have been several different versions of it. The original, what a lot of people call original D&D, ODD. Then in 19 or 1994, there was the original. And then 1977, the base set version 1 came out. In 1977, an additional set came out called Advanced D&D, ADD. Newer mechanics, little bit different variant. And I actually have a friend who's played in, I think this was the first system, way different than what we have nowadays system. Then you have the base, a bunch of the base sets came out. ADD2 came out. In 2000, 3rd edition came out. So 3rd edition was the new stepping stone to D&D. This was when the initial company that Irishguy had actually closed down, and Wizards bought the rights to them. With D&D, there's another famous game that actually stemmed from this. It's called Magic the Gathering. Have you guys heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to fill the room here. The people can't hear you say, you're evil. Like, really, Ronnie? Really?
Really, Ronnie? Really?
Okay, thank you.
You got four decks right there.
D&D actually, so during the time of downtime, Magic the Gathering, Irishguy actually created that to play in between downtime. So when you had a break, it was a game for you guys to play down.
Like Gwent.
Yeah. So this game, I'm trying to, let's see here.
He's trying to find a segue.
Yeah, I'm trying to not occupy so much time. So the overall play of D&D is a structured yet fundamentally open-ended gameplay role play game. It is normally played indoors with participants seated around a table.
Kind of like we are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which future content. Typically, one player takes the role of the DM, which later on has evolved over time, which with newer games and other games is called the GM. He is the role that will put players through the story. So you have players, and then you have what we call in the industry now NPCs, non-player characters.
Like Free Guy.
Like
Yeah.
free. Oh my gosh! Don't get me started.
Might
on
not
that.
always be.
Have you
as
guys seen that
cool,
yet?
But,
Yes, I've seen that
Friendly gesture.
catchphrase.
We get so inexplicably distracted.
But this is the thing.
Squirrel.
The group. So the DM puts everybody. He creates a scenario, puts them through rigorous tasks. Originally, this game was based off of dungeons. The whole object was to go to the dungeons. You have a class or a character, because back then the characters were actually different. You didn't have a class. You actually had a character. Class kind of came later on. And from my understanding, you talk about somebody that could get killed really easy. A wizard was very squishy. But you, huh?
I was gonna say I take offense to such facts.
Oh no, they were more squishy than now.
Yeah.
But with D&D, you take the party. You have the party made up of different characters. You run them through the dungeon. And then later on, there was a system introduced to where you'd actually have to adventure back to the town and make... occasionally, you'd have a random encounter and stuff like that. This game was actually based off 2 different game systems. I can't remember. I think they describe in here, but I'm not going to troubleshoot that for spending more time. It was based off 2 different games. One game that was a strategic military game that when this game started to really pick up, it it was hard to find that game, that other game that it was based off of. And I think I don't remember. It might be later on about the mechanics. Here we go. Yeah, you guys can read it if you want. So, jumping forward through a lot of this time of D&D, in the 90s when this kind of started picking up, Wizards of the Coast kind of took over. This game, or no, actually I think it was late 80s. A lot of people say that this game was devil worship.
The Satanic Panic.
Yep. And
that's what they called it.
It's catchy.
What's that, Mom? Ooh, let me go. You know, people thought a lot of they were down in their basement worshiping the devil with this, and a lot of this was to occupy those kids that nowadays who got us where we are now in computers, into, you know, actually a lot of acting. A lot of our movies and all of that stuff came from stories of like this.
Role playing. I mean, it's kind of in the name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that coming from a different point of view of it, it's like, do you know all those movies that you watch and everything? What is that actor doing? They're role playing.
Satan worship.
They're saying, every time, man, I'm going to go see that Satan movie. What are you talking about?
See it. I'm cutting off. You shall not pass.
We do not condone Satan worship. We condone.
Hold on.
Commenting on that in general.
Hold on. I mean,
I don't. But also, I don't believe in that. So let's move on.
You're the one that brought it up.
For the sake of science, we will move on.
So,
for the sake of the chat.
All right. So I'm going to kind of switch up our agenda here a little bit. We're going to go into the questions.
All right.
So, and the reason why I want to do the questions a little bit, because then after the break, we're going to talk kind of about our experiences and everything kind of leading up off of this, and just your general understanding and where you first started. So we're going to go around the table, starting with David.
Ooh.
So I'm going to read out the question, and then we'll go around.
Okay.
When did you start playing Dungeons and Dragons?
He's not even paying attention.
Well, you go first.
I know. I looked at you because I was like, that was my answer. Because Zach was actually the one of two, if not one of three people that introduced me to the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was in my apartment. I don't remember when exactly. It was just before the pandemic, or sometime before.
It was. I remember this fairly vividly. It was in the early half of 2019, and we had been talking about it for a fair bit of time. But we finally organized a game. This was back when you could see people in person consistently.
There was a paper made in 1775 that says you can see people no matter what.
That was 76.
Whatever.
I mean, the paper might have been made in 75, but they didn't write on it till later.
Touche.
Thank you.
But, yeah, so we finally got that going up. I want to say maybe March. It was roughly March.
It's hard for me to remember because, like,
So
the world we live in, but that was when I first started playing it. We had talked about it, but I was shown kind of the ropes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So that kind of answers the first and second question for you guys.
For me.
Well,
Yeah, for him.
yeah. So my kind of the second question, how did you get introduced to the game, and who introduced you? So we'll kind of do both of them together.
Okay.
So,
So I think it was either you or Wolf that introduced me to it. Because I think I was
I think it was probably both of us.
I think it was both of you because I was going to your guys' game just to check it out when Irwo was running your game back at the old shop. And God, I don't know what that was like 2000 and
probably 6 or
no, it was like 08 maybe.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, so that's when I was first introduced to it, but I didn't like start playing it until probably 2010. It was a couple of years after that. Cause like our buddy Irwo, who.
All right, we'll get there.
Yeah.
That's the second part.
The short version of it is it's that difficult to get a game consistently going.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for me, I didn't start when I first actually started playing it was with David back then, roughly March 2019, roughly. But as far as being introduced, like I'd known about it for years, but the hardest part was finding a group that you to play with, because I'd hear people, our friends, talking about it when I was at American River, and but there was never a game open, so I was like, oh, whatever, I don't even care anyway. It's a stupid game. But finally brainwashed enough of my friends to want to actually play it.
Yeah. So for you guys, whenever it was that you guys brought me into that game, I ordered a game mat because I just pulled up my Amazon order thing. June 10th of 2019, and you guys were playing a little bit before then, so.
Yeah, we, I want to say it kind of stopped around a little after my, will eventually be brother-in-law, moved away for my sister's college, because she ended up moving out of city pretty far. So we kind of had to stop after that. And then I don't think we finished the leg of the campaign.
Yeah, I had drawn up some campaigns for us to play, and we got through some of them. But, like, when the pandemic really started to, like, stay home kind of deal, it became very difficult to, like, meet up.
Yeah, Discord wasn't really working for everybody.
Mike, if you want to touch base on here, sorry for having you cut a little bit since these guys went in a little bit more.
Okay.
Do you remember your first kind of experience with it?
I think the first time I played might have been at KublaCon.
Okay.
Because you guys were like, "Hey, Irwo's he's running a game. He's been running the same campaign at the con for years, and he's like, you don't have to worry about making a character. You just go in there, you get a character, and you just pick up where the campaign left off before. But he's one that has so much of like world built and everything.
Yeah. you gotta push through it.
He said con, and I thought of Star Trek when he's like, con. But instead of you saying con, it's
yeah.
I'm getting there.
So I started playing in probably, I want to say it was well beyond before I had my kid. So I want to probably say 2006 or, 2005 or 2006. And I was introduced by my friend Eric and my other friend Brooks. They both, Eric has a very extensive world, and
Yeah, he does.
and it was a game that first started off with 6 of us. Or no, sorry, I lied. My first game was actually with our friend Noah. I was, I forgot about that game. We played in his house. First introduction, it was still Eric and Brooks that were like, hey, one of our friends is running a game. Do you want to come and play? And I'm like, sure, why not? And that was my first introduction to D&D. All right, second question. Third question. What version of D&D did you start off with, or have played?
Version 5 for me.
5? Okay.
Yeah.
5.
Version 5. It would be 5th edition.
5th edition.
Okay, you know what?
No,
if you're gonna,
5E.
you just answered question
Yes.
whatever.
We'll get there.
Ooh.
No. Anyway, for me, I started on 3.5.
Yep.
And it has been a lot of simplified a lot. And it is like I like both. It'd be
Yeah. So 3.5. So this is one of the versions of D&D. Can we just get a D&D?
I think it was
link
on
up
that
here?
webpage. I remember seeing 3.5 on there under
Um,
versions.
D&D
Yeah, no. It's just do a
Oh.
logo. Yeah.
the big D&D.
Oh,
a
the
big middle one. Or that.
Give them the big D
The big.
and D.
Continuing.
I don't know how to keep that.
Here, let me figure that out for you.
So I've third edition was pretty cool edition, but there was a lot of complications with it, a lot of mechanics that weren't worked out. Eventually they released 3.5, which fixed a lot of mechanics. There were still a lot of problems, but it was more streamlined, fixed a lot of bugs and everything. That's how much issues they had with third edition that they had to release a half edition to fix it. Going on, we'll go with you, Zach, first. What type of character do you typically like to play? Race, class?
Type, I generally gravitate
damn it.
towards magic, as David is painfully aware.
Mm-hmm.
As far as race, I guess like high elf or what. It really depends on the class, but generally,
Some type of sorcery.
yeah,
Gotcha.
I'm at least a little bit of a min maxer.
Yeah. Mike?
Well, as you know, I either do human fighter or ranger.
Yep.
Because I like to smash shit and I like to shoot shit.
Yeah. So I unwittingly and ironically I created either the perfect version of myself or the complete opposite. I'm usually a dwarven rogue. So yeah, I'm usually a dwarven rogue. I don't know why I wanted to be a rogue, but they're like, rogues are usually muy poquito. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll be a dwarf. So that's usually mine.
Okay. I have played a very wide range of characters. My first character was actually a halfling rogue, still the mighty. There's a pretty decent story behind that, which we'll touch base on later. I've played a fighter. I've built monks. Clefairy, which was a 3-fingered monk. Over the years I've played, I have very...
You've had a lot of...
I've had a lot of characters, a lot of story with them. I've played as sorcerer Iserlin, who dabbled in magic of light and dark. Dealing with the story that, like I said, with our friend Orwell, his story is very fleshed out. So with characters, I've played a wide range of characters.
Like his story is fleshed out to the point that he has binders that would fill this bookcase multiple times for his world.
And he's actually gone through and cleaned out a bunch of stuff. So, okay, next question. Do you think this reflects upon your personality? David's already kind of answered that.
Kind of, because like I always play. So I was chaotic neutral. That was like someone who didn't mind making havoc.
Lies,
What?
lies and slander.
What?
Chaotic neutral.
Yeah, that was my role.
You got the chaotic part right.
Okay,
I don't know about
definitely chaotic.
I got the chaotic neutral part right.
Chaotic
A little
good.
bit.
What? You disagree too?
What?
I saw you shake your head.
No, I'm to him.
So I thought my personality was accurate. because a lot of the times it involved me asking the DM. So like one of the times he was playing.
Yeah, my first time DMing, I had to deal with him.
So I asked if one of my
right.
bigger tankish guys can pick me up and throw me. You know, if it wasn't in a tree or at the goblin or something.
It was over. So we were running a module since it was my first game, and the module's like it's an impassable thing, and he's like, but like it was a peninsula kind of thing, so you could go around it, and he's like, can I just have the I think it was the fighter. He's like,
I think it was a dragonborn fighter.
Yeah, he's like, can I just have him pick me up and throw me? And I'm like, roll a 20. I'm like,
it's feasible.
And then I don't remember what he hit, but he rolled something high, and I'm like, so it happened. But I was like,
a GM.
yeah, I was first time, and then he's like, can I do this? Can I do this? And I'm like,
so give a little premise on this. I forgot to mention this. I'm sorry. I'm not well prepared. I've had a busy week. So D&D, you actually go through the game. You have base stats. Before you have an armor stat, the way to determine something is roll a dice, and you depending on the stat, you got a bonus or a negative to it. In the newer versions, they simplified that a lot compared to
easier.
Before, like in 3rd edition, you went from like 20 plus skills down to now, which you have maybe, I think it's like 12, maybe a little bit more than that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but they simplified a lot more stuff. And so as a DM, when you're the dice roll, a natural 20 is typically you roll a 20-sided die, you add your bonus to that. When you roll a natural 20, that means that's the very best. Depending on what you're doing, you're either going to succeed at it. If you roll a 1, that's a critical fail, and something happens. So depending on your GM, depending on the story, it varies from that.
All right, and before you go too much further, I pulled up the 3 since they're both familiar with 5th edition.
Yeah,
I pulled up the 3.5 character sheet. So just so you can see how, I mean, it's not the greatest quality, but just so that's all the skills. And then that's all.
Pull it up.
So that's all the skills there versus what it was. And
I remember seeing one of those at this place I used to work at back when 5th E just came out. They were playing that edition, and yeah, it was pretty rough. 3.5?
Yeah. You're not typing. Oh, there it goes.
Yeah, I wasn't typing yet. I was thinking what I wanted to write.
So that was
I don't have a mouse though.
Mike.
Oh yeah. Wait, you said something. Oh yeah. So for numbers, especially like 0 through 20 and 30. So 0 is terrible, obviously.
Yeah.
10 is like basic mortal human. 20 is like the peak of humanity and mortal. And then anything between 20 and 29 is supposed to be like deity, like demigods or something in that realm. And then 30 up is like gods.
Yeah, so levels of a character depending on your class. Typically you level with your now you have a class and you level with that class. You do have the chance to multi-level, which means you choose another class and go from there. I am so well unprepared. I'm sorry about this, guys and audience. Typically with the classes, so the initial classes were rogue, barbarian, fighter, rogue, druid, cleric, wizard, sorcerer, and ranger. Later on, they add multiple more classes depending on the supplement that you had. And now we actually have a lot more classes, including warlock. I think there's one more in there too, that you can choose from the base classes. And then the races, the majority of the races that you got to play were human, half elf, half orc, halfling, dwarf, and elf. now in the newer edition, they've added and gnome, sorry, and then everybody forgets gnomes. And then they added a few other classes. I know the newer one that I think of predominantly is Dragonborn and Tieflings are the two newer races that are considered base races. Before in the older editions, you actually had to, like, if you were a different race, you actually leveled that race versus now where you choose that race and then you get stats based off of that race. And then in the older games, 3rd edition, 5th edition, or 3.5, you actually got a negative to stuff too, to your stats.
Yeah, if so, at least in 5th edition, if your your base stat for any of your 6 core attributes, strength, charisma, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, and constitution, if it's less than 10, you get a minus. To any dice rolls that have any relevance to that, and any stats that are relevant to it as well.
I honestly feel bad. I should have just had a character sheet up here as we go through the whole thing.
Anybody want this back, or am I hanging on to it? I'm okay either way. I just don't want to be stingy.
So your base stats running into like
I think we're getting a little off track on the questions.
Well, it's also talking about D&D just so everybody understands. So you have your physical saving throws, your constitution saving throws, and your wisdom saving throws. So con, of course, agility is depending on how flexible you are and everything, and then your wisdom is depending on how strong-willed you are versus mind effects and stuff like that. Strength or fort saves are typically, which are your con saves, are typically you eat a spider or you're poisoned, you had bad fish stew.
Weather.
There's a reference in one of our games about fish stew. Physical is how how strenuous is it for you to lug this person around, pull this rock, that type of stuff, how long you're doing that for. Throughout the game, we can talk more about skills and everything, but it will just be a very long podcast after that. Getting back to personality reflections, Mike.
For me, I'm not the greatest at role playing, as I'm sure you're aware.
I don't know what you're talking about. You're the best.
Said nobody ever.
I did. You're the best.
He just called you nobody.
I am nobody.
Anyway, so I'm not really the greatest at role playing. So, like, I try to, but then I just kind of play myself. Eventually, so
the role you were made to play,
and that's typically what a ranger and a fighter are. They're just like very simple characters that just
whack shit,
shoot that, move that. You know, it.
Not everybody has to be an edgelord.
Yep.
I have an idea when I run by you guys at the end of this.
Okay, Zach.
Yeah, I guess that would reflect pretty well on my personality.
What, a goddamn pain in the ass? Yeah, it does.
I love you too. Mainly playing magical classes. I definitely do enjoy that. Magic's pretty cool in real life, but I don't actually know any of it. But yeah, I'd say it reflects well my personality. Not the best at role playing per se, but
egotistical.
I don't know about that.
You better prepare for the last two questions.
Okay. David had it right. Pain in the ass.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
But it definitely reflects on you as well.
We'll get there.
I just want to.
We'll get there.
One quote, not from you, but from a meme I saw. It was about a woman giving birth in a D&D world, and the doctor came up and said, "Ma'am, your baby was safely delivered, but I do have some bad news." And she responds, "Well, what is it?" And he said, "I regret to inform you, but he's a rogue." And then she just, no, but I'm too young to die. And the doctor responds, well, you know the rules, and pulls out the dagger.
That's awesome. For me, actually, I don't even realize typical characters I play. I play a majority of characters. I like playing a rogue. It's just the stealthy background and stuff, the sneakiness. I've been trying to play. It just depends on the character, really, for me, and the race and stuff. If I had to choose, it would be hard for me to choose because every character has its flaws and stuff like that. My initial character, yes, my initial character did influence my personality, which was a halfling ranger or rogue, not a ranger.
Yeah, halfling ranger.
All right, next question. Do you think there's a social stigma to play D&D?
This one is a two-parter, I think. But I'll let you guys go first.
Are you asking peer-to-peer playing the same game, or are you asking as like general society? Okay,
yeah.
that changes my answer.
I think you can comment on both.
Yeah.
I could, but I'm gonna wait till the last two questions.
Okay.
So, not anymore. I mean, like if you think about D&D back in like the 90s when toxic masculinity was at its peak, you know, yes. Because it was the nerdy thing to do. It was the geeky thing to do, right?
On top of the stigma about like not social worshiping,
social
Satan worshiping.
Yeah. So yeah, like the stigma back then, yeah. Now, I don't think there's as much, if any, because like you named off Vin Diesel, Joe Manganiello, you know, the Big Show.
Yep, Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert, also Terry Crews.
Terry,
you know,
He's
so let's look at Terry Crews, Steve Manganiello, and Vin Diesel. These are statistically, in a society standpoint, very attractive, big like bravado type men playing something that once upon a time was frowned upon because nerdy weak kids would play it.
Yep.
You know, that's how it was viewed versus now everybody's freaking doing it.
Yeah.
I mean
all four of us have done it.
Right.
That doesn't
Phrasing.
Yeah.
We're probably considered the
nerd.
typecasting before.
Aren't we like super jock? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
played
my
football once.
bow-legged ass. Yeah, I'm a jock.
oh yeah.
So I'm saying no.
I agree.
Yeah, so you pretty much touched on the earlier back in the day stuff. I think part of the reason it's so socially acceptable now compared to what it was around, you know, Satanic Panic,
Yeah.
is partially due to Stranger Things. That brought it to the forefront, but just before that was Critical Role.
Yeah.
Which was on Geek and Sundry, and I mean now they're making it a TV show. Which, by the way, did you back the campaign?
Yes, I'm waiting for it to release on Amazon.
Did you get your backer stuff? Mine came in the mail. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I think Critical Role had a huge Critical Role and the Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Helped a lot.
Yeah, helped break down some of the preconceived notions about it.
They sell it at Target.
Yeah,
Like
it's crazy.
The Essentials Kit and the Beginner's Guide to D&D or something.
Yeah, it definitely was originally heavily stigmatized, demonized, as we talked about previously, and it's definitely come a long way, becoming practically mainstream. They released a Dungeons and Dragons video game. I don't know what consoles it's on, but it's definitely on Xbox One. They've come just the latest one. They've come out with a few different ones by Wizards of the Coast, video game wise, and it's nice to see that the stigma has most certainly lessened. Is it gone completely? No, of course not. There's still groups that have it demonized or otherwise shunned as a nerd subculture or full culture. But it's definitely to the point where it's practically not stigmatized as far as I've encountered in my life, and it's pretty nice. It's about time.
Yep. With that, we are getting close to break time. We are going to take our first break. Gonna pass it off to David.
You heard the man. We're going to take our first Anchor break. Anchor being the podcast service that we currently use to distribute to literally every podcast site you can think of. Take this time, refill your glasses, get a bite to eat, do whatever you got to do, but make sure you come back to Level 4 XP. We're going to continue this talk about D&D. So we'll be right back.